Okay, another exciting little tutorial prepared here today. This is another request. By popular demand, this movie has been made. Basically, off air, I've done a couple of little things. So this tutorial is going to be about creating checkpoints. Okay, so when we run into an enemy, okay, we don't always want to start back at the beginning of the room, okay? Particularly the last couple of movies we've looked at, we've talked about, having larger rooms. So what we can do is throughout our game, we can have some little checkpoints, okay? So we have our starting point, we move through our level. If we come into contact with something, basically we'll reset the starting point, and when we eventually do touch an enemy, we will restart from the checkpoint, not from the beginning. Okay, so here I've got a sprite checkpoint, and I've created an object checkpoint. Okay, one thing we need to do is let's just open up level 1. Okay, now just to demonstrate this game, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the object checkpoint. I'm going to put that. Let's just put it here. Okay, so if we think about this, basically our player is going to start there, drop down. I'm going to move down. I'm going to come up. I'm going to touch that checkpoint. Then I'm going to come down, and I'm going to run into one of these enemies here. And hopefully my player will restart from here, not over here. Okay. Now, if you think outside the square a little bit here, if you imagine that this room was massive, like it went all the way out to there. Okay, we might have 4 or 5 checkpoints along the way before we get to the target. Okay, now if we're playing a game like this, we wouldn't want to play for 2 or 3 minutes, die near the end, and then have to go all the way back to the start. Okay, so this is a nice little way that we can have some checkpoints in our game, and we don't always have to begin from the beginning. Okay, so I've put the checkpoint in there. Okay, so let's get to some coding. Okay, let's open up our object player. Okay, first thing we need to do, and we've had a little play around before with variables, so we're actually going to create another couple of variables. Okay, so from the control tab, let's drag in a variable here. Now we're going to call this variable save underscore x, and we're going to set the value to x. Okay, so that's going to save our x coordinate. We also need to drag in another variable here and call it save underscore y, and let's set the value to y. Okay, so we've created 2 more variables, and those variables will hold the coordinates of our x and our y. Okay, now next thing we need to do is in our step event, we're going to add some coding to the end of here as well. So first thing we need to do is we need to check if there is an check collision, check object. Okay, so let's drag in a check object. Now what we need to do is we need to go object checkpoint, because that's what we're going to be checking to see if we touch. Okay, and we're going to choose relative. Now, if there is an object at position here, what we want to do is if that statement is true, what we're going to do is we're going to reset our variables. So that's going to be save underscore x, and we're going to set that to x. Okay, and the same for y. So we're going to go save underscore y with a value of y. Okay, so basically that's saying that when the game started, we initiate our starting point. if we now come in contact with this object, which is our which is our checkpoint, if that statement's true, if we're colliding with that, okay, we're going to reset this variable, save x and save y. Okay. Now, what does all this mean, I hear you ask? Well, I'm not even 100% sure myself, but I'm sounding pretty confident, so let's go on. Next thing we need to do is we're going to add an event, okay, and it's going to be a collision event, and a collision with this object enemy 2, okay, that was the one we dictated in our room earlier. So if we do collide with that enemy, what we want to do is from the Move tab, we're going to jump to position, and we're going to jump to save underscore x and save underscore y. Okay, why, I hear you ask. Okay, because that's going to be the checkpoint that we last touched. Alrighty, I believe that's the 3 steps that we need to do. Let's test that and we'll see how we go. Okay, so like we spoke about a minute ago, when the game starts, we've just created a variable up here. Alrighty, now let's just drag that up so we can see that a bit better. But basically, if we come along over here, bounce, oh, that wasn't a bounce. Okay, so now that we've come in contact with that checkpoint, what should happen is when I come down now, and if I collide with one of these enemies, okay, I should start. Look at that. That is sensational. That worked an absolute treat. Did you see that? If you didn't see it, let's watch it again. Here we go. So that's really good. So instead of starting, he's onto us now. Tricked him. Oh, I don't think I can get back up there. Okay, but basically here he comes. He thinks he's pretty clever, but I'm too quick for him. I could play this all day long. A little bit of cat and mouse. Oh, this. Oh, that's an exciting little game. Oh, hang on now. I'm in trouble. Oh, there we go. Okay, but as we can see, that's working an absolute treat. We've redefined our start point by having that little checkpoint there. You could have several checkpoints in your game. Hopefully that's working for you. If it is, well done. Big high fives and congratulations.